Into the Snapped podcast, my personal audio journal. My name is Tyler Kluber. I'm a personal trainer and podcaster, but it gets a little bit deeper than that. And this show is going to give you an inside look on my thoughts concerning health and fitness, business, mindset, and creating the life that you feel lucky to live. I hope you enjoy the show. Sit back, relax, and let's have a day. Let's have a day. All right. Well, this is attempt number 2 at this podcast. I recorded this whole freaking thing uh yesterday on time. On time for you people. This podcast is now just a Thursday podcast, sometimes Friday, and it's supposed to be a Wednesday podcast. But today, hopefully, the audio that you're listening to, and who knows, the whole thing could be fucked up again. Somehow in my Zoom settings, and hopefully I'm not doing it. Yeah, it looks like I'm okay. Somehow in my Zoom settings, the volume, the input, on my personal settings got jammed way up to 1,000%. And it sounded like I was absolutely screaming bloody murder in the mic. It was like, it almost sounded like staticky. I thought something was fucked up with my microphone. I thought something was messed up with some other computer setting, potentially my audio board. And it turns out it was just the Zoom input level for my audio. So hopefully what you're listening to sounds nice, crisp, and clear, and not, I mean, the audio was absolute. I was going to post it, and you might even be able to hear it if you go to my YouTube channel and watch it. No, I don't know why I'm saying this. No one gives a shit. This is take 2. I actually felt like, yeah, the episode I recorded was one of the best, most concise episodes that I've ever done, and I was super happy with it. This is going to be, as you can tell by the title when you clicked on it, this is part 3 of the My Current Protocols. And this portion of the, well, I shouldn't say that. The first was diet, what I eat. There's a yawn. I don't think I yawned at all during yesterday's episode, so we're already behind on that. The first episode was what I currently eat, what my diet looks like to match my training and goals. The second episode, which was last week, a couple weeks, took me a couple weeks to get to that second part 2. That was how I train, and sort of broken down in a fair amount of detail what and why and how I train right now physically in the gym. And this third part is going to be all encompassing, basically recovery. And that is broken down the way I've done it into 3 separate parts, really. I would say 2 and a critical third sort of area. 2 yawns. We love it. 2 yawns. We're doing the third part today, and that will cover basically everything that basically the current way that I live my life, when it comes to eating, training, and recovering. A quick update as I sit here, absolutely trashed. It is a rest day, which actually we'll talk about and how that factors into the recovery. This would be week 7 of the 6-week squat cycle. If I were to have continued doing it, I did not continue doing it in the same fashion. I think it's probably a good thing to, it's called a cycle for a reason, is because it's not a consistent all the time thing. I, for the second time, went through and completed the 20 rep squat cycle, squat program, which, if you remember or have been around, I did last year. The reason I'm saying this is probably because I will do an episode recapping the squat cycle in its entirety and sort of isolation. Probably next week. It'll probably be the next one I do. And um, basically, I just got done with that about 8 or 9 months ago. I did it for the first time. Saw insane, incredible, almost mythical improvement in my 1 rep squat, which, as we know, at least if you've been paying attention, is very important in what I'm trying to do. My squat strength has a well, it's important. So um, I decided to do that again. Knee was finally feeling good. We've talked about how my knee was sort of messed up for a while. Um, we completed it again successfully. There were a couple days where I didn't know if that was going to be the case or not. Um, but we did it. Last time we started at 185, and you essentially will go up about 90 pounds if you squat for 3 times a week for 6 weeks, because you're just adding 5 pounds each set. We started at 230 this time, ending at 315. 3 wheels on the bar, and successfully did that for 20 reps. We are going to go for 320 and continue to go on this cycle, although not at the same frequency. Give my legs a little bit of a rest. We are going to go for 320 either tomorrow or Saturday, assuming we get that 325, 330, basically until I feel like it's actually going to kill me, which this sort of squat program does get you pretty close to that stimulus. So, in combination with that, another update before we get into this recovery protocol. I had mentioned a couple weeks ago that I needed to increase my calories. I basically came to the conclusion, sometimes when you're in your own journey and you kind of, you're waking up and you're doing things and you think everything's right, it's hard to take inventory, take stock of, is my protocol exactly what it should be right now? Is it is it maximized? Is it optimally efficient? And for me, I don't think that was the case. Especially going into a squat program that was going to be intensive, advanced, and require real serious intentional effort. A strength cycle like that probably should see, for most people, if you're in a maintenance phase calorically, should see a small uptick in calories. Just because with the hormonal response and growth, muscle growth stimulus that you're putting on your body, you want to make sure that you're optimally feeding that so that you are putting on muscle, you are putting on strength. So knowing that, and just, you know, being in a spot where I was like, what if I just add calories? I'm not gaining weight right now. What if I just add calories and we'll see where that takes me? It'll give me a slightly better idea of how much I'm actually burning on a daily basis. And now 6 weeks after, I think it obviously helped me for sure be able to continue to get stronger in the legs and successfully complete the squat cycle. Not only that, but it also added, I would say, 3 to 4 pounds of muscle in a month and a half. And I've gained about 7 pounds. So that's good. I like that. I'm eating, 4,000 plus calories a day, and it feels really, really good. I've stayed just about as lean. Actually, thought kind of in the middle of this cycle when I went on the baby moon, which I also did an episode about. I went to San Diego. I actually thought that I was looking, at least, the amount of yawns today. In my own perception, I thought that I was looking about as lean as I've ever looked, and at as high of a weight as I've ever been. Right, so around 200 pounds, and I'm guessing somewhere around 9 or 10% body fat. So I'm really, really happy with that. But we will get into all that in the specifics a little bit more later on. But I just wanted to update the audio journal here, and anybody who decides to listen to it, that sometimes an increase in calories is what you need, especially if you're training really hard. Okay. With that being said, we will go over this again probably in slightly less detail because I don't want to sit here for another 40 minutes and talk about this after I've already done it. But I do want to get this out there because I think this episode, more than anything, could be helpful to you listening at home. Sure, you listen to me eat or what I eat, and you haven't really figured out like your own nutrition. You don't know what works for you, or we don't like the same foods, this, that, the other thing. You're not able to eat such a boring meal like I am all the time. Or definitely when you listen to the training one, you're like, dude, what the fuck? Like I'm not even into CrossFit. I just like listening to about training and exercises and diet and stuff like that. Like I'm, listening to your 3 hour per day CrossFit is definitely interesting, but it doesn't actually help me in my own training. But this one here, the recovery, is one that I think is relevant. Um, Even if I do more sort of recovery and sort of focus on it more intentionally than most people do, it's still very important to most people. And I think the place to start is I think we're probably all under recovered. Um, unless you are just completely sedentary, it, which is a spot where you have a whole lot of other issues to worry about before you worry about how recovered you are. Um, if you are training 2, 3, 4, upwards of 6 times a week, 7 times a week, the chances are is you're not doing the best you could at keeping your body healthy outside of the gym. And I think that's always the case, right? Like, are we ever eating the absolute perfect diet, stretching the absolute right amount, foam rolling absolutely the right amount, getting the exact amount of hydration, sleep, whatever we need? Probably not. No. So it's a constant chase towards us trying to be better. That's all this podcast is about. Is I'm just trying to get better. I want people who listen to take one or two things away from each podcast and be able to be better. Right. So, with that in mind, how do I break down recovery, especially at such a high level? Um, Again, I cringe when I say this myself, but the way I train right now is at a level of professional athlete. Um, it might be slightly under that, 3 hours a day, right? Actual professional athletes are, depending on the sport, are probably training somewhere between 3 and 6 hours a day. Um, Sometimes much more for some sports, sometimes not as much. Um, Somebody like a football player is probably, if it's during the season or a time where they're practicing, call practice training, as well as any time they spend in the gym, they might be spending 3 hours a day on average throughout a week, right? Call it 20 hours in a week. But that might be on the high side for like NFL athletes. Um, Whereas, endurance athletes are probably upwards of 25 or 30. Yeah, 25 or 30 hours for sure. Um, so that doesn't matter. What does matter is I'm doing a lot. And so my muscles are often beat down. My central nervous system is often pretty beat down, right? I'm sweating a ton, losing fluids, losing electrolytes, going in and out of, well, ideally not going out of hydration, but you know, um, would be on my way if I wasn't keeping that in check. I need a ton of sleep. I need a ton of mobility. So, what does that look like? I break recovery down into 3 parts: hydration, body work, and sleep. Those are how I break them down. Body work and sleep are 2 bigger ones. Hydration is pretty simple. There's not a lot to that. We're going to start there, right? Drink water, right? Everybody says drink water, drink water, drink water. Get your water in you, drink more water. You hear it all the time. Eye-opening to me, and I think a lot of people more recently I've been seeing a push for this, is hydration is not simply how much water you can suck down. right? Water's great, and I drink a lot of it. But electrolytes play a huge role in actually being hydrated. And in fact, if you drink only water and you don't get a lot of salt slash electrolytes, you can actually drink enough water where you're now sort of waterlogging yourself and you end up just pissing out and diluting uh, the electrolyte supply in which you could then be deficient. So, how do I go about this? General rule of thumb, right? Again, this isn't an advice podcast or not. Uh, it's not the primary focus of this, but I will kind of give my thoughts on it as far as the inspiration or origin of why I do what I do. So, general recommendation, if you were to come to me, would be I need you, the average person, even if you're sedentary, I want you to drink half of your body weight in ounces of water each day. Right. So, easy example. What does that mean? I'm 200 pounds. Half of that is 100 ounces of water per day for me. If I wasn't doing anything, that's just like living life. And most people will be fucking amazed at what hitting that mark, that standard would do for them. Now, if you're at all training, right? If you're working out at all, you're being active at all, I would add another quarter of that, right? So for me, 25 more ounces throughout the day to help balance out you exercising and sweating. And really, and that puts me, because of my body weight, right at about a gallon, right? So how I do that is I have a hydro flask. It's 32 ounces of water. That's a quarter gallon. I try to drink 4 of those per day, right? So 4 of those per day. Now, it doesn't always happen. Sometimes I'll usually always get 3. Oftentimes I'll get 4, but not all the time. However, that's not my only source of liquid and hydration, right? So I work out. Obviously, if you listen to the second part of this, you listen to how I train. 5 days a week, I'm working out twice a day. Thursdays, which happens to be today, I'll work out once. Sundays, I might put in a little quick cardio session, but usually just a walk. And there will be no workout. But that is still 11 training sessions per week. For each training session, I will put down a 24-ounce shaker bottle of water, right? So that's additional. That is during my workout. I'm thirsty, I'm sweating, I need water. That's a 24-ounce shaker of water each training session. So do the math on that. 11 times, if it's 10 times 25, let's just call it 25 ounces. That'd be 250, about 275 additional ounces of water per week just during my training sessions. That's just over 2 gallons of water, extra gallons. As well as before my afternoon sessions, which there's 5 or 6 of those per week, I do another 12 to 16 ounces of water that house my, what I call a pre-workout, but it's more so just BCAAs and some electrolytes and some salt. So there's additional water, right? And then every once in a while, who knows, we go out to eat or we're sitting down at dinner and I have something else. There's a good chance I'm eating more liquid, or I'm drinking a drink with a meal. And then of course you have hydration from the food that you eat, which is sort of hard to quantify, but there's, you do consume water through your food. So it's a shitload of water, right? And you're sitting there going, wow, that's a lot. But for someone who trains 2.5 to 3 hours per day, it's necessary. You could see how much I sweat just in my active recovery Peloton session this morning. You'd be like, holy fuck, like I could fill a shaker bottle with just that, right? So that is how I approach hydration. Not just water, but also salt and that pre-workout drink. And I salt the shit out of my foods. Oh, I forgot to mention daily, especially if it's hot out, I'm also drinking a 20-ounce body armor, right? A body armor has a little bit of coconut water in it, which is super hydrating. I don't know why. It's got electrolytes in it. It's got a couple other things in it. So another additional 20 ounces of fluid in the form of body armor, which is a super hydrating sort of focused drink. Um, that is what my hydration looks like. I salt the shit out of my food, so I get a ton of extra electrolytes there, sodium, potassium, chloride. That is how that goes. That's hydration, right? Bing, bang, boom. Body work. Body work. This includes several things. This could be anything from stretching to mobility sessions to dry needling to cupping to cryotherapy to massage, whatever work you have done on your body to feel better and recover your muscles, that is body work in my mind. Now, I don't do all those things, right? A lot of those external sort of resources cost money that I don't see as worth it. I don't see a positive ROI there for me, except for probably like a quarterly massage. But even then, I'm lazy and I haven't gotten an actual massage from a masseuse in over 2 years. So, what does my body work look like then? A majority of it is broken down into three parts. Inversion, which I'm huge on and is sort of a lost art, in my opinion. Most people don't mess around with inversion, don't even have the ability to. Talk about that in a second. Inversion, stretching, which is essentially, now people call it mobility, but it's just stretching, right? Mobilizing your joints and muscles and taking them to end ranges of motion so that they don't get stuck and stiff in between your training sessions. And then tissue release, myofascial release, which comes in the form of foam rolling or sometimes even a little more pinpoint with a baseball or a golf ball, something like that. Those are the three, right? Big parts. Now, I have a massage gun, right? A little percussion gun that I will use as needed, right? Maybe once or twice a week. On like today, I'll probably use it because I, for the first time in a really long time, am trashed in my biceps, in my ass, in my fucking quads, in my chest. I'm beat up, so I'll probably use that a little bit. And then I also include in body work this idea of walking in the sunshine. And I know you're like, well, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Here's how I think about it. It's making your body feel better, right? Getting sunshine on your skin, in your eyes, little liver king, on the face, on the eyes, of the skin. It makes you feel better. It releases hormones. It resets circadian rhythm. We'll talk about that with the sleep in a second, the third part of recovery. And just walking as well. I sort of use walking as the very first part of a warm up, or after a workout, a cool down. Of the most low intensity exercise that you can do is just walk, move your legs and your arms, and support your frame at a very low intensity. It's more beneficial than like if we just walked more as a society, again, similar to if we just drank more water as a society, crazy benefits, crazy progress can be made if you're consistent with that. So those are kind of the implements. What do those look like? How long specifically? I won't go into crazy detail. Twice a week, I will try to do a big stretching session, right? One of those sessions happens to fall on today, which is Thursday. The other happens to fall on Sunday. So as you can see, or if you listen to last week, I put the big stretching / mobilization / mobility sessions on the days where it is my active recovery. One, it kind of goes with the theme, right? I'm giving my body a rest from the actual exercise on those days, or more intense exercise days. Might as well take it even one step further and implement the active strategies of recovering those muscles, right? Two, time wise, it works. If I can on a Thursday when I normally am on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, or Saturday, I'm training 3 hours of that day. But on Thursday, I'm only training for about 90 minutes. Makes sense to throw in an hour stretching session on Thursday because I have more time on Thursday because I don't have that second session. I have an hour to stretch on Sundays on a weekend when I'm not working and I'm completely not training. Versus trying to throw in, because these 2 big sessions per week are 40 to 60 minutes long. It would just tighten up one of those other days where I'm already training for 3 hours, and then I throw a big, huge, long mobility session on top of that. So that's when I do my 2 big sessions per week. Those are like the true, like, you get done with those those sessions, and you're almost sweaty. You're starting to, you've mobilized and put yourself in, because these aren't fun either, right? Like stretching hurts, mobilization hurts, foam rolling hurts sometimes. Um, your body temp heats up, uh, but you go through and get the blood flowing and you stretch well, and like you feel an actual like hormonal um good feeling after these sessions. Um, I will do a condensed version of those sessions, 10 to 20 minutes, 3 to 5 times a week. The other 5 days of the week when I don't do those, 3 to 5 of those days a week, 3 at minimum. I will do a 15 to 20-minute stretching session, all the same stretches. And if you're interested in what those stretches are, I can, I'll just ask. I'll let you know what I like to do. I'll do condensed, like maybe 1/3 the time in those positions or whatever, 1 to 2 minutes in each spot on each side, whatever it may be. While I watch TV, I call this just a TV stretch, right? So we sit down for dinner at night, we eat our dinner, and then there's like an hour, 90 minutes before we go up to, start the bedtime routine. During that time, while we're watching Netflix, while we're watching YouTube TV, whatever it is, I'll just stretch while you knock it out, right? You're either just sitting on the couch or you can watch TV and get something else done as well. And this is a perfect time where I don't have to find another spot in my day to find 20 minutes. It's already built into me watching TV, and you can actually sit in some positions for even longer than you may at some other time, and really do some good work. So 2 to 4, maybe 3 to 5 sessions a week of those TV stretch sessions. Included in those sessions will also be foam rolling, myofascial release. Most of the time doing the majority of my foam rolling is going to come in the form of me doing it on my quads, my butt, my hamstrings, right? That sort of the top part of my legs, which just take an enormous beating, occasionally on my lats, right? And then if I grab the baseball or I grab the golf ball to roll out some smaller parts, it's going to be the bottom of my foot, my pec, maybe my back, those areas. But I'll do about 5 to 8 minutes of foam rolling as well in each of those sessions, whether it be a big session or a small session. And then inversion will be another 10 minutes per day. And I like to get 10 minutes every single day. Sometimes it's upwards of 15. Sometimes it's 8, right? Just depends on if I feel like I've got my use out of it. You kind of feel it out. I have an inversion table. Some people use gravity boots or hanging boots or whatever it is. I have done this since college. We had one in the college weight room, and it was unbelievable. With as much squatting and deadlifting and beat down as a Division I football player takes, and now a semi-pro professional CrossFit athlete takes, the inversion table and decompressing my spine for 10 minutes a day honestly has probably saved me from numerous injuries and tweaks over the last going on 10 years now. So because of it, and the benefit that I feel from it, I can literally tangibly feel how good it makes my body feel. You'd be hard pressed to find a day where I don't get 10 minutes of hanging in. It sits literally right next to my new where my desk now sits, looking right at it. So I'll probably do it right after this podcast, actually. That is the body work, right? Stretching, myofascial release, inversion, occasionally some massage gun, and walking in the sunshine, right? Total, if you combine all of that into one, you're like, how much of that time do you get per day? It's probably 30 minutes. I'd like it to be closer to an hour a day, but again, this whole podcast, this whole idea is like we're never perfect and we're trying to get better. So I'm trying to increase that. You don't just jump in the pool and start swimming miles. You got to swim a lap at a time first. So that's sort of where I'm at. I'm in the middle of that journey to building my recovery out to an hour a day. And I'm at about a half hour, sometimes 40 minutes. Finally, we'll talk about sleep. Potentially the most important third or topic of what we'll talk about today. Sleep is honestly the third pillar of like fitness, in my opinion, or fitness and health, the combined best health version of yourself. I look at it like this. In the gym and during the day, you're going to give inputs to your body in two forms. You've got the physical input or output, I guess, that you would put your body through in the gym, the training that you go through, the day-to-day wear and tear of whatever your career or job looks like, just like the daily task of living, right? Plus what you do exercise-wise. To match and fuel that activity, you're going to input a bunch of food into your body, right? That food is going to be used as fuel to give you the energy to move throughout the day, as well as if your body reaches a state of fatigue or breakdown, that food is going to be what is used to build you back up. The third component, sleep, is the time frame, the state in which the rebuilding happens and the resetting of mental acuity and a bunch of other processes in your body happens, right? So it is just important because if we do not get it, the body will simply not use the food that you're giving it correctly, and a whole bunch of other bad things. So generally, I like to go for 8 hours a night. We're actually recording this at a really interesting time. Lauren, the wife, is a teacher. So until yesterday, she has had the summer off. It stays light out till 9 p.m. During the summertime. So circadian rhythm, which I'll talk about in a second, is a little bit shifted backwards. It's still light outside. It's a whole lot easier to stay up till 9, 10, 11 o'clock if you want. So in the summer, our schedule shifts a little bit, right? We probably fall asleep somewhere around 10, wake up at 6 to 7, and 6:30 or 7, and that's 8 to 9 hours of sleep. During the year, which she just started working now, she will get up at like 5:15, 5:20, or at least she'll set her alarm for 5:20 because she likes to lay in bed for that long. So knowing that we are going to be awake at that time, still shooting for somewhere between 8 and 9 hours if possible, you backtrack from there and you realize that, okay, if I want 9 hours and the alarm goes off at 5:20, that means I got to fall asleep by like 8:40 or 8:20, right? Now, 8:20, probably not always asleep by then, but when we get into a routine here and school's full go and we're kind of into the fall football season and closer to the winter holiday season, we will no doubt be asleep on average consistently in a routine by 8:45 every night. And so 8:45, you fall asleep. It makes waking up at 5 o'clock pretty darn easy. Like you've got your 8 hours. It's amazing what it'll do for you if you just find a routine. So that's what we shoot for. How do I make sure that those 8 to 9 hours are good hours, right? For me, cold and dark are huge. I think for everybody, they're huge. I keep the house at 68 degrees. Our bedroom is on the top floor, so it may be slightly warmer because hot air rises. So call it 69 degrees up there. That is a sort of universally well-known temperature for good sleep. Cold enough that where you want a blanket, but still warm enough that you're not absolutely just shivering, bone chattering, teeth chattering cold. Dark. This is where we fall short. Our curtains suck in our room, so in the morning, once the sun starts to come up, it gets pretty light in our room pretty fast. As well as wife likes to fall asleep with the TV on, and so there's light in our room until we are asleep because we don't set the sleep timer until we're for sure going to be asleep. I've gotten used to that, but it's not ideal if you're really trying to set up the max efficiency of environment. As far as blue light goes, coming off of the TV or coming off of, even more importantly, the phone, which is way closer to your eyes. My glasses, my prescription glasses, have blue light blocker in them, as well as my phone is set to turn off the blue light and only use red light. And that's a setting. You can go into the color. I think it's the color of your screen settings on an iPhone at least. And I've set that to turn off blue light at 7 p.m. every night. So past that, if I am looking at my phone is not using blue light to project whatever screen I'm on. It helps a lot. Let's see here. So blue light blocking, phone setting. I make sure that obviously the other two parts of this, I'm moving and I'm eating well throughout the day. It's no surprise that people who work out sleep better. It's because you've used your energy, right? You've got this vital energy sort of this amount of output that we as humans are meant to expend in a day. And if you don't expend that, we inherently know this too, because when you have kids, you'll hear parents all the time say, "Oh, they were running around all day today. They'll be tired tonight. They'll sleep good tonight." But then those same people, they don't act on that as an adult, right? They don't fucking move their body all day. They don't go and exercise. They don't exhaust themselves and do all these things to make sure that they're using the energy they have each day. So when you lay down at night, sure, yeah, your body still has some energy left. You're not tired because you haven't used your body like you're supposed to. That's huge. And I benefit greatly from that because I do not fall short in the using my energy each day. And eating right, finding what works well for you and your digestive system and you nutritionally, that plays a nice large role as well. All right. Getting sunshine immediately in the morning. I'm not always great at this, but this is another one that I like to try and do. If I remember, I did it today. I actually got 20 minutes of it today. Immediately in the morning, if you can, right? Not everybody can. Take a walk out in the sunshine. And if the sun's not shining, that's okay. It'll still come through the clouds. You'll still get that natural light. But exposing yourself to natural sunlight in the morning, first thing when you wake up, is something that will set your circadian rhythm and sort of your internal clock process for the day. Once you do that, your body is on a timer in some sense and will start to wind down and be ready for sleep, ready for bedtime sooner than or closer to when you would like it to be. So that's an important one as well. And then if I need to, our podcast, the bigger one, the Walk On podcast, does have a CBD company as a sponsor. They aren't CBD specific gummies for sleep. They're just sort of like, hey, take this and this helps you sort of recover any benefits that CBD gives you. These they're just like all around gummies. but I have had those gummies before. I'll take that at night sometimes if I'm really struggling. And if I'm laying there at night and I just simply can't turn my brain off, or for some reason I'm not falling asleep, occasionally I will work in box breathing. Right? Box breathing is simply picking a number, usually 2, 3, or 4 seconds, and holding that cadence for the inhale, hold, exhale, hold. Right? All 4 segments of that breath are all held for the exact same amount of time. So 3 second, 1, 2, 3. That exhale is 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Hold. 3 inhale. So it's just using a number to kind of box breathe. That centers your mind, centers what you're focusing on, and helps your body calm down and relax. And when I rarely have to use that, that will usually do the trick. You fall asleep and you don't even remember not counting anymore. It's like when you're on anesthetic. So that is the 3-pronged approach: hydration, body work, and sleep. And those are what I use, how I use them. Hopefully you found some nugget there that you haven't tried or heard of before. My biggest thing would just be like exercise and get sunshine, and your sleep will be good. As far as hydration, you can almost never drink too much water, right? Like you probably need more. I need more. And stretching is more beneficial than you know. Um, so all that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Again, I'll probably next week update you guys on how this most recent 6 weeks, 20 rep squat program went. Pretty eye opening, and we'll see here soon. Once I fail on the 20 rep, what my 1 rep max is and how much I've actually put on in 6 or 7 or 8 weeks of squatting and intentional focus. And we'll talk about that then. But until then, peace.